Hey, welcome back to this study on the armor of God. We've already seen that God has an armory and He has plenty of battle garments for you and me to dress up in, because He knows right now we're living on a planet that is sometimes hostile, but we live in the kingdom of God, even here on earth. While we might be living behind enemy lines, we live in the kingdom of Jesus Christ. You know, the last lesson, we looked at the breastplate of righteousness. The lesson just before that, it says, gird yourself up with the belt of truth. We put on the breastplate of righteousness. Now in verse 15, Paul says, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. You know, it's very important that you have your footwear. Footwear enables you to take a good stance. My goodness, in today's culture, footwear in sports has become a mega billion-dollar industry because footwear actually affects performance. And this footwear is very important for our performance too, especially in the context that Paul puts it in. He said, shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. There are 2 points that I want to make here, 2 things that I see. First of all, we want to be people who constantly herald peace. You know, we talked about the breastplate of righteousness. We talked about the position of righteousness and the lifestyle of righteousness. You can't have lifestyle without relationship. Lifestyle's about how you do relationship. And the preparation of the gospel of peace is number 1 about how we walk in peace with one another. I have found that the enemy often will use a strategy called offense. The spirit of offense will set a trap so that we get into conflict with another believer or a non-believer, and the whole purpose for getting us trapped by the spirit of offense and then entangled in conflict is so that we step out of a heart attitude that would parallel the heart attitude of Jesus Christ. Look, Jesus said it's impossible for offenses not to come. They're going to come. But will the offense take us out of peace, and then inadvertently, by taking us out of peace, take the peace of God around us out of us? And so it's very important that we have our feet shod with the readiness to bring peace, even in relationships with people who, at the best of times, could be difficult. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 9, Jesus is preaching on the Beatitudes, and he gets to verse 9, and he says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. You know, because the enemy does operate through a spirit of offense, he's constantly trying to lay traps. But if your feet are shod with the gospel of peace, if you're a peacemaker, instead of being embroiled in the spirit of offense and taking offense at every other thing and taking somebody else's offense as well and being upset for them, if we have the gospel of peace on our feet, the sandals of peace, then rather than adding to the fire, we put water on the fire. You see, peacemakers will be known as children of God. And I love that phrase in the NIV. It uses, they will be known as the children of God. And I ask myself, well, to whom will they be known? Number 1, the world will see that we're different. But number 2, the spirit realm that is constantly trying to entangle us in warfare that's not necessary, entangle us in attitudes and disappointment or anger and unforgiveness. If we're forever bringing peace into situations, even the spirit world of darkness will know us as sons of God. We don't fall for their garbage. We don't get stuck in their traps. We don't take the bait. And on top of that, we're setting other people free from the snare and the trap by helping them have a mindset of peace and reconciliation and forgiveness. You see, here we are talking about spiritual warfare and putting on the armor of God. And one of the strategies of spiritual warfare from the dark side is to take us into conflict. And so we have to understand bringing peace is part of our strategy of supernatural divine warfare against the enemy. We're putting out arguments, putting out suspicions, putting out criticism, putting out racism, putting out hateful conversation, putting it out, stamp it out. You got sandals on your feet, stamp it out. Somebody wants to come to you and gossip, stamp it out. Put on the sandals that bring peace. If we don't get entangled in those sideline issues, we're better positioned and have a better stance to be able to resist the enemy. You see, Peter even says, husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wife and treat her with respect, and as an heir together with you of this wonderful life in Jesus Christ, so that nothing will hinder your prayers, even in your marriage, with your children, in relationships at home. Keep your feet shod with the peace that comes from this gospel. The peace. This gospel teaches us how to live peaceably with all men. And so Peter gives us this reminder. There's a second part to the sandals of peace that bring the gospel of peace. Isaiah chapter 52 verse 7 says, how beautiful on the mountains are the feet of those who bring good news, who proclaim peace, who bring good tidings, who proclaim salvation, who say to Zion, your God reigns. Wow. Listen, let's have the preparation of the gospel of peace on our feet, ready to go anywhere and talk about the faith that's in our heart. In these days of coronavirus or some other kind of epidemic or crisis or national or international situation, let's be quick to give a reason for the faith that we have in Jesus Christ. Let's be quick to bring good news. Let's be quick, like this verse says, to tell people your God reigns. In these last days, let's put on the gospel of peace and be quick to bring good news, to bring the positive power of Jesus Christ, and to remind one another our God reigns and we reign with him. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.